Hello and welcome to another Entrepreneur.com Google Hangout. My name is Jason Fell. I am managing editor of Entrepreneur.com. So today we're going to talk about all things online marketing and SEO. That's search engine optimization. And our guest today, I'm actually really excited to be chatting with him today. We have Rand Fishkin, who is founder of online marketing and SEO powerhouse Moz. Rand, say hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. Well, let's see. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I started it started as a small marketing consultancy, turned into an SEO consulting firm. We launched some software, and today we're a relatively large startup in the software space. We've got about 21,000 customers subscribe to our software products that help people do things like SEO and content marketing and social media marketing. And of course, we're very, very active in the online marketing communities, and I'm deeply personally passionate about helping to make Google more transparent.
Well, that's great, and for everybody tuning in, everybody's really passionate about startups and about running really kick-ass websites. So. Great. So, Rand, let's just get started. I have a few questions for you. So when it comes to publishing a website and to optimizing it for search, right? We all want to drive traffic and we all want to rank higher in Google search. One element of that, right, is writing killer content. So, what are some tips from your experience for entrepreneurs? How can we write better content for our websites? Is it all about keyword research, or tell us?
There's kind of two aspects to successful SEO when it comes to content. One of those is technical, and that fits into Jason, what you're talking about with keyword research, choosing the right terms and phrases, putting them in the right places like your title element and your headline, and making sure that the content itself is actually answering a user's query. So if someone performed a search for best coffee in Seattle, and you have a web page that says best coffee in Seattle, but it doesn't really comprehensively go through all of the coffee shops that are here, and my God, let me tell you, we have a lot, then you're going to end up with something that Google analyzes, and their advanced topic modeling algorithms are going to say, this doesn't look that great. On the other side of that, there's the creative end, right? So you've got your technical SEO, and you can get that right, and that will help you. But the creative end is really about saying, how am I going to produce content that a community of people will help amplify? And what I mean by that is, you need to find a group of people who are going to be incentivized in some way. That could be, hey, it makes me look really good when I share this on social media, or this is an important reference point for an article that I'm writing, or this is categorically the expert in this particular field, and I want to cite them and their work when I'm putting on a conference or an event or hosting a webinar or any of these kinds of things. If you can't answer the question, who's going to get behind this content and propel it and amplify it, then you haven't produced something truly worthy of making into the top of Google, especially when it comes to competitive terms and phrases.
So in other words, when you're writing content for your website, just keep your customers in mind, and just make sure to write high quality content that answers their questions and fulfills their needs.
Yeah, so it fulfills their needs. I think the only point I'd clarify on that, Jason, is make your customers happy, but remember that your customers, in the case of content marketing and in SEO, also includes this other group who might not necessarily be buyers. They're people who work in the press and in journalism. They're people who run blogs. They're people who have social media accounts, right? They're people who can amplify the spread of the work that you're doing. Content is not necessarily about directly converting. It's about building a relationship. And a lot of the times in SEO is the same story. Someone's going to perform a search that's very informational, not transactional in nature. They're going to come to your content and your website, and if they have a good experience, they're going to remember you, and they'll come back. And you have an opportunity next time they're in their business. And because of how Google's personalization works, since you clicked on and maybe liked and +1 that content, Google will show their results higher in your searches the next time you search. So all of these things feed in. It's writing high quality content is I would say a not very actionable piece of advice, but writing content that can be amplified and knowing who's going to amplify that, that now you're getting into the secret sauce.
Very cool, secret sauce. I love it. Rand, so so talking about SEO and driving traffic to your website, right? You think about, well, driving traffic to your website, you think about two things. You think about SEO, search engine optimization, and you also think about something called PPC, right? Pay-per-click. Which strategy would you say is more effective and why?
Actually, I think they're both very effective forms of marketing, but the challenge with PPC and SEO is learning to balance them and learning when to invest. So as a startup, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that you'll realize is PPC is very fast, right? As soon as you start buying those AdWords and Google approves your ads, they show up, you start earning traffic, and Google starts making money, which is nice for them and hopefully nice for you if you can get a good conversion rate and attract the right kinds of people. PPC has been around for a long time, and there are a lot of people who've invested a ton of money and effort and resources into getting that dialed in. And so it's not nearly as easy to enter that field and quickly master it and earn a ton of value, right? Unless you have an extremely high margin business in a field where everybody else's margins are low or lower, PPC is going to be tough to really make a killing on. SEO is a different story. If you are creative enough, if you can get the right kind of community behind you, if you can earn that press and awareness and attention, SEO can be truly powerful and really company changing. And you can see lots of examples of this. One of my favorites is SurveyMonkey, whom I'm sure you know. And SurveyMonkey just realized, for the first, say, 10 years of SurveyMonkey's life, from 1990, I think they started in 97 or 98 to 2007, 2008, they really succeeded because lots and lots of people were searching for online surveys and create a survey, send a survey, right? Create an online form, all this kind of stuff. Google Docs didn't exist yet. And because they had this model where all of the surveys that got embedded pointed back to SurveyMonkey and they managed to gain these high rankings, they were really able to change the trajectory of their business. Another great example is Yelp. Yelp had these fantastic badges, right, that went out across the internet. Restaurant websites put them up everywhere. And of course, they pointed back to Yelp. They pointed back to the pages of the restaurants themselves and of the regions. And this helped Yelp outrank everybody in the local space, starting with restaurants and then expanding into a lot of other categories. So SEO can be very company changing if you can master that creativity. It's still a wide open field. PPC, a little less so in terms of that, but it's very healthy, I think, to find a balance between the two.
Great, thanks for the examples and for the clarification. Okay, so SEO, it's as passionate about it as you are, Rand, and how fascinating and dynamic a thing it is, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and it's something that that entrepreneurs are still kind of getting their heads wrapped around. There's a lot of things that are I guess can be pretty straightforward, and then other things seem kind of jargony. Rand, let's talk about link building.
Okay.
Okay. Tell us, what is link building, and is it still a really critical element of good search engine optimization?
So I'll answer the second question first. Unfortunately, the answer is yes, it's still a very, very critical piece of being successful in search engines. And I'll tell you why I think it's unfortunate that that's the case as I describe what it is. So link building is essentially the practice of earning links from other websites that point back to your sites and pages. Generally speaking, when we talk about link building in an SEO context, you're not really focused as much, or many practitioners are not focused as much, on the traffic that's sent through those links, although that can be a nice side benefit. They're really focused on getting links from the kinds of sites and pages and the diversity of sites and pages that will make something rank higher in Google's search results. And that means a lot of different websites. That means more powerful sites and pages will send a more powerful ranking signal. That means that certain words in the anchor text, right? So for example, if I link to an article on entrepreneur.com on wearable technology and I say, check this out, that's not nearly going to help you as much in Google's rankings as if I were to say, check out their wearable technology section, and I pointed to you with that anchor text, which I actually think is kind of a funny remnant of the past. I wish it were not the case. I think Google needs to advance beyond that, but we've done some recent testing. Anchor text is still extremely powerful, and links are still extremely powerful in Google's results. Hence, you have a huge industry of people, trying to manipulate the link graph for profit, and then a large number of people who are trying to earn attention and awareness by, emailing bloggers and press. I mean, Jason, I'm sure you get the same emails that I do, which are like, hey, we'd like to guest post on entrepreneur.com, right? And here's our Texas Hold'em gambling casino.
Yeah, we get a couple of those maybe every day.
But that's the kind of thing where there's that kind of gray black hat world and that manipulative world, and then of course you advance into the more earned media side of things on SEO, where people are producing the types of content that they hope resonate, and when it doesn't, they try again and try again and try again. And eventually, a lot of startups find success reaching those. Another example, actually, just from this morning. So you might have seen that LinkedIn shut down Card Munch, right, which was a service that helped you scan business cards and connect them through LinkedIn. And I thought this was very smart marketing. Full Contact, which is a startup out of Boulder, Colorado that's funded by Foundry, Full Contact put up a blog post that said, hey, we have a product to replace this, and they cleverly titled their post, an alternative to Card Munch, because they know a lot of people who use that product are going to be searching over the next few weeks and months, and so now they can find the Full Contact product, and they sent it out to some folks. I saw it and tweeted it. A lot of people are going to be linking to it. So it's, that's kind of intelligent, ongoing SEO, identifying those opportunities, finding ways to earn links to your content and to your products.
Sure. You're talking about LinkedIn. So, Rand, when a lot of people are thinking about SEO and online marketing, obviously the first things that come to mind are Google, Microsoft, Bing. These are the big search engines.
Yeah.
But so the big search engines aren't the only ways that a company can get discovered online. From everything from LinkedIn and social media to iTunes. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of alternative sources for search. Rand, thinking beyond the big search engines, what would you say is the most important alternative source of search, and how can an entrepreneur maximize it?
Yeah, that's actually the answer that I'll give to that is it depends on your industry and your vertical. And it does, Jason, I totally agree with you that those niche engines or different ways for finding either content or services or products are absolutely critical. And we're seeing a lot more of that fragmentation. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was search engines. That was almost all there was. And then there was Dig and Reddit, right? And now, with the rise of social media platforms and the expansion of alternative search, I mean, think about in travel, right? Kayak is just essential, and now Airbnb is kind of rising up, and TripAdvisor has got a tremendous amount of traction in the travel world. So there's all of these different angles, and as a responsible entrepreneur and as a responsible marketing person at a startup, I think your job is to keenly identify all the channels that drive traffic to not just your direct competitors who are selling or doing whatever you're doing, but also the group of people who are finding information about your market, right, your niche, and then identifying which ones of those provide opportunity. So if you're in the travel space, you might say, gosh, you know what, a lot of travel interest starts from travel blogs. And so I need a way to get into that community and to publicize my region. One of my favorite ones of these, by the way, and one of the most successful marketing campaigns I've ever seen, was the Queensland Bureau of Tourism in Australia, who took $100,000 of their $1 million budget for the year, and they put it towards a contest. They called it the world's greatest job. And this competition was essentially where people could sign up to be a blogger and social media enthusiast for Queensland, essentially, go into the Great Barrier Reef and dive with turtles and then write about it. So it's a dream job, and you get paid $100,000, right? And so the amount of people who not just invested in this contest, but also wrote about the contest, wrote about what happened afterwards, covered the guy who won, who became this blogger, was just incredible. It was so incredible that all of Australia, every province in Australia, now runs this competition annually. They found that it just moved the needle on travel interest in their regions so substantially and so much better than traditional advertising that they're all now doing it. I think that kind of creativity in identifying a channel, whatever your niche is, and then going after it is really important. And it varies widely, right? Pinterest is interesting for some folks. LinkedIn is powerful for other folks. Google Plus is tremendously powerful for us at Moz. For other people, they're not having as much success on there. I've seen people who have done remarkable marketing. I actually know a guy in the recipes and food space who does great marketing in the subreddits and on Reddit.com. They get tremendous amounts of traffic and branding and awareness there. So, this is a practice that I think marketers need to invest in if they're going to be good at it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a fair amount of science behind it, right? But then also some experimentation, just kind of see what you can do and see what sticks.
Yeah, there's a process, right? There's a process to identify the channels, to test in them, and then to continue investing in the ones that produce reward.
Absolutely, and thanks for sharing. That was a really great example, Rand. So, okay, moving on. All right, so I'm an entrepreneur. A couple of years ago, I set up my business website. It's a couple of years old when I did it, and since then I've put little or minimal focus on search engine optimization. And right now I've decided, oh, you know what, maybe that's something I should give a thought to. So, Rand, when I'm looking back at a site, what's the most important thing I should keep in mind when conducting an SEO audit of an existing website?
Yeah, again, it sort of depends, but all the audits in the SEO world follow a pretty classic process, which is to take a look at the underlying technical issues. So, does the website have problems like duplicate content, right? The same content existing on lots of different URLs, Google not really figuring out which one they should rank, and definitely not connecting them all together so that the link equity, right, that has been produced across all these separate pieces is combined into one. People look at linking internally on the site, right? Are all of the pages linked to well? Can you find them quickly and easily? Are Google spiders effectively crawling the site? Let's go take a look in Google Webmaster Tools and see if there's areas of opportunity or issues that are being reported, or, God forbid, right, some kind of a warning. Maybe you've done something a little sketchy, or you didn't know you were doing something sketchy. But those kinds of things fit into the technical portion of the audit. And then above that, there's always kind of a keyword research and a market opportunity analysis. And that means going and looking through keyword research tools. The AdWords tool from Google is a pretty good one still, and identifying like, hey, I really wish we were ranking for terms like this, phrases like this, and here's the relative volume levels of those terms and phrases and relative competition level. Be careful, by the way, when you're doing keyword research. Competition level in AdWords always refers to the PPC side, right? How much money people are spending and how heavily people are bidding, how many there are. On the SEO side, you're going to want to look for something like a keyword difficulty score, which will tell you how powerful the websites are that are ranking in the top 10 already. And then on top of that keyword research, you're going to go after kind of content opportunities, press opportunities, those types of things. And that's where you get really creative about what could we do, what should we do, what should we redo. Maybe we did something in the past that was successful. Let's turn that into an annual contest, right? Or let's make that something that we repeat. So all of these things are areas where, if you hire a high quality professional SEO firm, of which there are many, but unfortunately there's also a lot of scammers and spammers in the SEO world, they'll perform an audit like this, present you with these opportunities, and then if you hire them ongoing, they'll help you execute on them. You can also do this in-house, though, and a lot of startups that I've seen have done it very successfully by either hiring a team or just getting really good at it?
Actually, that's a good transition to another really good question, right? So, Ren, I think you can identify with this as an entrepreneur yourself. When you're starting a business from the ground up, I mean, you're going crazy. You're managing all kinds of different moving parts, and then you have to build a website, and then now you have to worry about SEO, right? You have to worry about creating high quality content and link building and blogging and all. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yep.
Right, and so you were talking about either hiring a team or hiring, an SEO consultant, somebody who can help you with your search engine optimization. Rand, so if you're gonna, you've decided that you're too busy to do it yourself, you need to hire an SEO consultant. What are some important tips to keep in mind when doing that?
Yeah. So one of the things I always look for is someone who can explain it to me very well, right? And I do this in any field where I'm going to hire someone as a consultant or a contractor. So, you should be able to ask questions like, how does Google's ranking algorithm work? And they should be able to answer, not specifically, right? Because nobody knows that. Not even most of the people who work at Google know that, right? But they should be able to answer in broad brushstrokes like, well, here are different elements. Here are different things that Google looks at, and here's why they're important, and here's how we can potentially tackle them. They should be able to answer questions like, who have you helped in the past? How have you helped them? And provide references. They should be very able to identify with your customers and the people who are searching for things in your space and have deep empathy for their needs and how they can fill those needs by producing the right kinds of content on your website and making that accessible. And then there's a lot of jargon in SEO. There's a lot of words. Oh yeah, we're just going to rel canonical that over there. Oh, we can use hreflang to fix that issue. And anytime you hear one of those, stop them and say, okay, what does that mean? Why do you do it?
English, man. Speak to me in English.
Yeah, and that's another great sign, right? That someone is going to be a valuable contributor to your company, whether you're hiring them in-house or at an external agency. And that is, they should be able to say, oh, yes, rel canonical. This is an initiative that Google and the other search engines launched, I think it was back in 2008, and it was designed to help tell Google which page is the canonical version when content exists across multiple pages. Maybe you have a mobile-friendly version and a print-friendly version of an article and a version of the article that has an additional call to action in it that you're using for a promotional campaign. But all of them are really the same. And you want this one, this particular one, to be the one that comes up in search engines. Well, you can put a rel canonical tag in the metadata of these other web pages to tell Google, Yahoo, and Bing, this is the right one. This is the one you should be ranking. So someone should be able to explain any of these concepts really easily and well to you. And I'd look for people with a track record. I think that can be helpful. If you have a smaller budget, my recommendation is to go with an individual or an independent consultant rather than an agency, right? Agencies are going to have bigger teams with more specialization, but they're also going to be more costly in general. If you have more of that big budget, you might want to hire one of those agencies who can take on, lots of specialized work simultaneously.
So one thing that I think has become apparent in our conversation, right? So Google changes its algorithm pretty frequently, and who knows who knows what governs what and when, and there's different waves of what's good SEO and what's bad. Ren, what are some trends, some SEO trends that entrepreneurs should keep an eye on over the next 6 to 12 months?
Sure. So one of the interesting things, Jason, is I think that the perception inside the SEO world has been almost a shock at how little Google's main algorithm, right, the algorithm that governs sort of organic, natural search for most queries, has changed. In 2005, we were all trying to get our keyword research right and get our keywords dialed in, create content that people would naturally link to and amplify and cite, and go out and manually get some of those links to it, and that was kind of the process, right? And then you wanted to build up a powerful domain because important domains, even pages that aren't well linked to on important domains, tend to rank higher than those on unimportant domains. And so that core kind of how the algorithm worked in 2005 is really similar to how the core algorithm works in 2014. And a lot of those processes haven't changed that much either. I think the perception of how much Google's algorithm changes is actually broader than, or is actually bigger than what's really going on. That being said, there's lots of changes at the tactical levels because of how the web is advancing. And Google, of course, has introduced a dramatic number of new opportunities. I mentioned rel canonical and hreflang, and all of these like nuances which SEOs need to be familiar with. In terms of keeping up with that, and in terms of the next 6 to 12 months, my real advice on that front is to pay attention to how people are using the web and using search, and how, when, and why content itself is being amplified. What's being amplified, why it's being amplified, what are the underlying emotional triggers of that, what sort of, who has the web's temperature. So, 2 years ago or a year ago, you might have said, boy, that was BuzzFeed and Upworthy. They really had it down, like they knew what was going on. And now we're seeing, maybe a little bit of backlash against that and the trend changing a little bit again. Certainly Facebook's changes to how their organic reach works have shifted that landscape pretty dramatically. And so paying attention to how, when, and why content is being amplified on the web can really make you smart about SEO. And if you need to, if you're deeply in the practice, you're probably already reading, the Moz blog and Search Engine Land and staying up to date on the day-to-day changes.
Well, one thing's for sure, SEO definitely keeps us all on our toes, and I guess the final product is a better, high-quality product. So I'm all for it. Well, Rand, I think that's about all the time we have. Thank you very much for taking some time. Really appreciate your knowledge and your enthusiasm on SEO, and thanks again for just explaining a really critical and really complicated topic in plain language for everybody. My pleasure, Jason. I really appreciate you guys having me. Thanks, and thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. I'm Jason Feld, Managing Editor for Entrepreneur.com. Thanks so much.